Hello everybody! I hope you're well, hope you're having a lovely day. So my name is Jenny Smith. I am a networking strategist and founder of a company called Networking Know Who. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about my career journey. And it's not the most traditional journey, to say the least. So we'll go on a little adventure together. So just sit back, relax and enjoy the next however long I chat for. I can chat for a while, but I'll try and keep it concise, I promise. So I am from a little village called Wetherall, which is just outside Carlisle. Grew up there, had a lovely time, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do, to be honest, when I left school. I still don't know what I want to do when I grow up. But when I left school, I kind of thought, right, I'll do some voluntary work. So I ended up going and living in a place called Fiji, which is all the way the other side of the world, and I lived with nuns and worked and did voluntary work in a deaf school. And I didn't know sign language at the time, so it was a bit scary, but I learned it and it was fun, and I got to experience what it was like to live in a different country, in a different culture, and I had a whale of a time, really. And then when I came back, I travelled around the world on the way back, and I ended up at university in Liverpool. So went to Liverpool. Amazing city if you get the chance to go. Brilliant shopping, nightlife, great place. So here's me graduating. I studied business and finance. Again, didn't really know what I wanted to do. I thought business and finance was pretty broad, so it covered a lot of different things. Had a great time and loved living there. So when I graduated, I stayed on. I did some voluntary work at a company and they gave me a job when I finished uni, and a year after I started my first business, which was a job I invented, to be fair. So I used to go out to networking events on behalf of a lot of different people, and this was me when I launched that business. It was called May 15 because that's my birthday and I got to have a party every year and it was a lot of fun. So yeah, I went from traveling to back to uni and then ended up inventing a job. Stayed in the city, didn't pay for food for like a year because I was going to all these events, having loads of fun. And then my sister got engaged and I was like, oh, I wanted to be back home. I was feeling a bit homesick, so I moved back home to Carlisle, went there, and was able to be around for her wedding, and then she had some babies and it was lush. And during that time I started my second business, and it was really, really hard. It wasn't going all that great for the first year. It was really difficult to get, I was hosting events for people. It was really difficult to get them to come to them, but after time people eventually did. Anyway, long story short, I ended up going on a girls' holiday. We went to Magaluf, as you do, and I met a boy and we fell in love. And he is from the northeast and lives in Durham. So I sold that business and upped and moved to the northeast. So now I live in Durham with him, David, there he is. And 18 months ago we had this little one, this beautiful little angel. Her name is Juno. So yeah, we live in Durham now. So I've been settled here for about 6 years now. Great place, love the northeast. And during my time over here, I worked for some companies. So I worked for a networking company called the Muscle Club, and so I was employed there as the managing director for nearly 3 years. And I worked for another company called Sunderland Software City, delivering business support to the tech companies of the region and further afield. And I loved it, and it was great, and I got to work with a lot of interesting people and being employed. I hadn't been really employed before until I moved to the northeast, so that was kind of a new experience for me. I'd always been employed in that I'd always had a job since I was about 16. My first job was selling trainers in JD Sports for like £3 and a penny an hour, which I'm sure these days would be classed as child labour, but at the time that was the going wage. And then I worked in bars, I worked in Topshop, I worked in clubs, and I've done all kinds of jobs. But as like a career job, I'd always either been self-employed and then when I moved to the northeast, got some actual like real grown-up jobs. So yeah, managing director of the Muscle Club for 3 years, and then at Software City for nearly 3 years. But at that stage I had my daughter, and as most people do when they have kids, it kind of changes your perception of the world and what's important. And, you know, I knew that if I was going to be taking time away from this little baby, I had to be spending my time on something that I was really passionate about. And the thing that I'm really passionate about is networking. And networking is essentially building relationships. So it's something that we do ever since we're little kids, but it gets given a name when we're older, and it gets called networking. But it's essentially going to events to meet people and build relationships with them for lots of different purposes. I'm getting ahead of myself, so I'll tell you a bit more about that later. But I decided to launch my own business again, but this time with a lot more experience behind me. So 18 months ago I had my baby, and then 9 months after that I launched my business, Networking Know Who. So this is in the middle. This was me on the first kind of live training session that I was delivering from my loft here at home. And as I launched the business, that's when the world went into lockdown. So it made out for a very interesting time to start a business, because usually I would go out networking and meet people, but all of a sudden the world was closed. So we had to find different ways of growing our businesses and stuff. But it's been going really well so far. And there's a number of different reasons why I wanted to start this business, and made that decision to kind of step away from being employed. You know, I went from being a student to being self-employed, to then being employed, to now being self-employed again. And there's benefits to both. There's benefits to being employed, there's benefits to being self-employed, and it's very different. And I think at different stages of your life, there's maybe going to be opportunities to explore different avenues. And the interesting thing about, you know, anyone's career path, it's that it's never a straight line. Careers go up and down and move and left and right and all over the place, and that's what makes it interesting, and that's what makes it exciting. So if you don't know what your career path looks like, good, you shouldn't know. Part of the fun is to go out and experience it and just see what happens. So the reasons that I started my business is that I genuinely am passionate about what I do, about helping people to build relationships, to network, empowering them, to give them the skills to be able to have conversations with strangers and explore opportunities that can result from those relationships. And that can be either for their career development or for their businesses. So we, as humans, we build relationships, we talk, and we build trust with people, and that's when opportunities come and business referrals and all these amazing things happened on the back of it. So for me, I wanted to really take my skills and use them in a way that was making an impact and helping other people. And I knew that I couldn't do that being employed for someone else, because I didn't have the control over what I was able to do and deliver and implement all these ideas I've got. So going self-employed has given me that freedom and that flexibility. So entrepreneurship and being an entrepreneur wasn't something that I really thought about as a younger person, and it wasn't till I was at university did it even come into my mind that it was an option for me to start a business. I thought it was something that either rich people did, old people did, or, you know, people from big cities did. It wasn't something that people like me did. So I never thought of it as an option for my career until I was at university. Like I said, someone came in and spoke to us, and he was only a few years older, I think, than me at the time, and he'd started his business. And that was the first time I was like, like people like me actually can do it. Like, what? So entrepreneurship, this is kind of some things that it means to me. So to be an entrepreneur means to be brave, to take a step and that leap of faith away from getting that regular paycheck. And once you start getting that paycheck from employment, it's difficult to step away from it to the unknown. You don't know when the next job's coming in and the next money, and it's scary, especially when you've now got like mortgages and husbands and babies to think about. So it does take a lot of bravery to take that step into being an entrepreneur. It also takes a lot of conviction, and you need to really believe in yourself, believe in your ideas, believe in what it is you want to achieve in order to make it happen. So you've really got to have that strength of conviction in who you are and your abilities, but also in your ideas and your passions as well. And being dedicated to make that come to life is really important, because no one else is going to do this for you. If you don't do it, it's not getting done. And if it's not getting done, you ain't getting paid. So you need to be dedicated to and commit to really making it happen, because you're the only person that's got the ability to do it. No one else can. And you've got to really be open to learning new things. So as an entrepreneur, you have to constantly be learning different new things, learning from your mistakes, learning from your successes, but also learning from other people that you come in contact with, learning and upskilling yourself in all these different areas of business. So yes, you have to be amazing at whatever it is you do in your business, but you also have to learn how to do finances. You have to understand HMRC and tax and stuff. You need to learn about social media marketing, digital marketing. I built my own website. There's just endless amounts of things. PR, HR, like there's all these different things that you have to learn about, which should be part of the fun. It can be scary sometimes, but there's so many resources out there, and you can literally learn how to do anything on YouTube, to be fair, as well. So open to learning new things is really important. So what do you need to actually start a business? So if any of you have ever thought or will now think, oh, do you know what? This Jenny lass, she seems pretty normal. If she can start a business, maybe I can start a business. Well, you can, my friend. So all you need to be able to start a business is you need to find your passion, or find something that you're passionate about, and take that passion and create an idea that's going to help you generate money, make money from whatever it is you're passionate about, especially if that passion enables you to help others and add value to others. That value will be worth something to them. People will pay for things. It doesn't have to be a tangible product. I don't sell anything, like I don't buy in clothes and then sell them on. It's not an actual object. I sell my services. So my thoughts and ideas essentially is what I sell, and people pay for that because I'm blinking good at what I do. Anyway, so you need an idea, a passion, and then you need to find and access some support to help you make it a reality. So there's so much support out there, especially like in the Northeast. There is loads of support you can tap into, loads of resources and knowledge, also potentially some grant funding depending on where you live. There's all kinds of the Prince's Trust, things like that. Go to the Growth Hub website, the Northeast Growth Hub, and there is pages and pages of support available for startups, for pre-startups. So if you've not even set the business up, you just got a business idea, there's professional people that you can have meetings with, have Zoom calls with, tell them your idea, and they'll give you feedback on it, and they'll help you to shape it before you've even started doing anything. So there's so much support out there. So tapping into that is really going to make a difference when it comes to starting a business. But the biggest thing, obviously, for me is networking. And whether you decide to start your own business or work for a massive company or work for a really small independent business, whatever you decide to do in your career, networking skills will really play a massive part in setting you up for success. So I want to share some of my networking top tips with you. So first of all, what actually is networking? I should really cover that. So we've talked a little bit about what networking is, and networking is building relationships. So you have already been networking since you were tiny and able to go to playgroup or nursery or wherever it is and talk with the other babas or babble or whatever. You're building relationships with other people, and that's all that networking is. You are now networking in school. And some of the relationships that you have been building and will build throughout your education will continue throughout the rest of your life, your career. You will tap back into relationships that you probably wouldn't even have thought about. You might not see someone for 10 years and then suddenly they'll pop up and you'll be like, oh, we're in the same industry now. How's life been? And the way that you treat people now can have a massive impact in the future. And networking is all about building relationships. So in the future, if you did bump into someone again, you want them to remember you positively. So you need to be thinking about the networking that you're doing now, not just potentially in the future. Networking as like a business function. Companies host networking events where people come along and they get the chance to meet other people in business. A lot of students go networking to potentially meet employers. You can go networking for knowledge. There's all different opportunities that come out of networking. But here are some of my few top tips for how to network. So, equality. Think about how you treat people that you meet. And again, this is things that you should be doing now, not just when you graduate or you've left school or whatever. When you meet new people or anyone that you have got, in your class at school or in your year or in your school as a whole, treating people with the same amount of respect, giving them the same amount of time and treating them equally is so important. When you transfer that into the kind of the professional world, often people will disregard people if they are quite junior, they're new in their career maybe, and they're just starting out, and they'll treat people that have got, a fancy job title or something, or they drive a posh car or whatever, they'll treat them in a different manner. But if you can treat people equally and give them the same amount of time and respect, because you never know where people are going to be in a year's time, in 3 years' time, in 5 years' time. You could walk into an interview at any stage of your career, any stage of your life, and the person that's interviewing you could be someone you've met before. How would you want them to remember you? That is what you need to be thinking about. And that's what you should be thinking about when you come in contact with anybody and the way you treat people now. So treating them equally now will pay off 1,000,000 times fold in the future and in the long run, because it's a very small world, my friend, very small world. The people that you meet, you can then add value to. And when you add value to people and when you have relationships with people, adding value is a great way for them to build positive associations about you, essentially. So in the professional world, adding value can be in the form of making introductions between people so that they can do business together or generate new opportunities or have conversations that result in new ideas. You could you could send people information that's going to be of value to them. You can tell them about events that are coming up that are going to be beneficial to them. So it's just adding value to people in different ways. It can be supporting their social media posts, so engaging with their social media and sharing it on things like LinkedIn or on Twitter. So there's different ways that you can add value to people. But again, it's all about creating these positive associations in people's minds so that you want them to think fondly of you, because people that add value are valuable to know, and then more people will want to know you and they'll want to help you in return. And finally, the biggest tip that I could ever give about networking is to be nice. Being nice is one of the most powerful things you can do, and it's forgotten. And I know at school, when you're younger, I can't even imagine what it's like now with social media on top of everything else. It is hard. It's ruthless sometimes. I think back to school and it just gives me shudders. Like, girls especially can be nasty, and you're trying to navigate all these different things about who you are and what you're interested in, and it's not the same as what they're interested in. Does that mean I'm weird? And what about what they're doing? And it's just carnage. But I promise it gets easier, and I promise a lot of the stuff in the future you'll look back and think, you know what, it doesn't matter. So the biggest thing that you can do is be a nice person and be nice to those people that you come in contact with. So the quiet kid in your class, be nice to them. One day you could walk in, they could hold the key to your career happiness. One day, you just don't know. But being nice should come from a place of just being a nice person. But if nothing else, being nice as a way of developing relationships and potentially developing your career in the long run, and just supporting other people, because you don't know what they've got going on, and you don't know where they're going to be, and you don't know where you're going to be and who you might need to ask for help one day or support. So being nice is the biggest thing, the best thing that you could possibly do when it comes to networking and building relationships on a long-term basis. So there you go. I'm going to leave you with that thought, but good luck everyone. And don't worry if you haven't got it figured out yet. None of us have. Don't think that grown-ups have got it figured out, because we haven't. We don't know what we're doing. We're making it up as we go along, just like everyone else. So just try and have fun with it and go out and find out what you're passionate about, how you can make a positive impact on the world, and whatever that looks like, throw yourself into it and be the best version of yourself that you can. But most of all, make sure that along the way you are nice.